We're learning now that senior members of the National Security Council have presented President Trump with a plan to conduct a strike on North Korea before they attempt to arm their missiles with chemical or nuclear warheads. Russia, in a warning to the United States, stated that North Korea could use their nukes against the United States any day. If Trump decides to launch it, such a strike would come amid rising tensions with North Korea, and right on the heels of Trump's shot heard around the world in Syria last week. North Korea sees Syria as an ally, as well as Iran and Pakistan. In the past days, the United States has sent an aircraft carrier strike group to the peninsula in a show of force over the advancing nuclear weapons program in North Korea. North Korea is thought to be one of the world's largest possessors of chemical weapons as well. South Korea's Ministry of Defense estimates that Kim Jong-un has between 2,500 and 5,000 metric tons of chemical weapons. These weapons have the capability of being launched from artillery into Seoul, South Korea, as well as being loaded onto ballistic missiles that could strike Chicago, Tokyo, Toronto, or Beijing. That's right, I said Beijing. Ever since the Korean War ended in 1953, China has been the main sponsor state of North Korea, also known as the Hermit Kingdom. But the world's changed a lot since 1953. China has billions invested in South Korea. They don't want a war. And Donald Trump appears to be changing the game for the first time in almost 70 years. Last week's Syria strikes took place at the very time that President Trump was meeting Chinese President Xi Jinping. White House officials stated that at the dinner, Trump informed Xi directly about the strikes, a bold move from the master negotiator, and definitely one designed as a power play. Now, having met both President Trump and President Xi myself many years ago when I worked in Shanghai, comes as no surprise to me that the two were able to come to an agreement on North Korea. They are both consummate deal makers, and both of them put the real interests of their own people squarely ahead forward, rather than focusing on unrealistic hypotheticals or United Nations philosophical statements. Trump basically said to China, help us on North Korea, get that guy in line, or else we are going to have to take a really tough look at these trade deals with China, with you. Now, on the campaign trail, Trump routinely raised the possibility of slapping a 40% tariff on all Chinese goods sold in the United States, their biggest market. Now, China is working to rein in North Korea for the first time in decades, and it's clear that Trump is the change factor. In September 2016, China was buying record amounts of coal from North Korea in the face of UN sanctions, a huge economic driver for the cash-strapped nation. Now, immediately after meeting with Trump, China is sending back coal shipments to North Korea and buying more from the United States, which simultaneously is a huge win for Trump's promise to help U.S. miners after years of struggling to compete in the world market under Obama. China also, they've got 150,000 troops stationed on the North Korean border. They're a human wall. And in one of their Communist Party magazines, they recently posted an article suggesting that China would strike North Korea's nuclear facility if Kim Jong-un crosses what they call their bottom line. So, what's going to happen in North Korea? I've traveled to the Korean Peninsula 5 times in the last 10 years. I've placed myself easily within range of any of Kim Jong-un's chemical or nuclear weapons. They have gas masks in the subway stations in South Korea. And I was studying these issues. Now, we're not talking about a big place here. Both of these countries combined aren't even as big as the state of Michigan, but they've got 75 million people living there. War there would be a disaster for both sides, be a bloodbath. The entire place would be on fire within hours. Kim Jong-un knows he's playing for keeps because for him, there's barely anyone in the country that wants to keep him there, just the elites. North Korea, it's literally the Hunger Games. The capital is the most dystopian city on the face of the planet, while people all around their country are starving. Oh, and by the way, he just assassinated his own brother, just in case he was getting any ideas. Funny how that works. So, what's the best option? Here's my thought. China, you get them to tell Kim to step back from power. He comes out, he gives a speech. He announces a new moderate council of party leaders that will manage the affairs of the government. And Kim remains in a figurehead role, right? That council slowly begins opening up North Korea to the rest of the world, just like happened in China a few years ago. Then Trump starts airdropping rice cakes and Pop-Tarts all over the countryside because, believe me, the people there are more interested in eating than they are in fighting. And all the while all that's going on, SEAL Team 6 sneaks in and steals their nukes as nobody's looking. Might be a little far-fetched, but hey, it's a lot better than going toward another Korean war. And it works out for China's favor as much as the United States. They get to keep face, which is so important in Chinese culture. And then we can talk about negotiating the trade deal between America and China without having some nuclear nut job running around in between. You're welcome, Walmart. Jack Posobiec, your Washington Bureau Chief for Rebel Media. Hey, to keep up with what's going on in the Trump administration and around the world, like and subscribe to Rebel Media.